Okay, so today we are going to be working on a vintage Vivitar 250 SL M42 mount 35mm SLR camera. And this I actually picked up off of eBay. And I won it for 99 cents, and it was 4 something shipping, I believe. And I ended up using my eBay buck certificate and got it for free. So it is in nearly mint condition, with the exception of the battery door has a lot of corrosion in it. The cover wouldn't even come off, so that's going to have to be cleaned. And the other problem with it is it's jammed. It doesn't do anything. So, but just the basic condition it's in, I figured I can't go wrong. So, I have already dismantled it and taken all the major screws out of it so that it'll save us some time during the video. But unfortunately, I accidentally damaged the cover here on the film advance, because apparently when this was made, they put a dab of glue gluing the cover to the actual fastener here. So it would not come off. I had to grip it with the pliers to turn it, and they both came off at the same time, and then I had to peel the two apart. But that can maybe possibly be polished off or just touched up with a little bit of paint or something. But other than that, we are going to start disassembling it, and we'll take you through the steps on doing that. There's 3 screws on the bottom to remove the bottom cover, and then that just lifts off, and you can see the corrosion from a leaky battery at some point, but thankfully it's not too much of a problem because none of the internal components are corroded. And then we have to remove all the knobs and controls on the top, which the film rewind wheel simply unscrews like that, and the ring below it unscrews as well. And this retainer right here unscrews. And again, if you have either just a fine pick to loosen it up, or if you have your spanner wrench with the pins, that will come in handy as well. So that just unscrews, and be careful not to lose any of the washers or anything. And this is part of the problem here. When I had originally took the film speed selector dial off and the shutter speed selector dial, it kind of popped, and so I'm probably going to have to recalibrate that for the meter, because I'm not sure how the meter adjustment works on this particular camera, but we will find out after we get it all back together. But the internal wheel here is what adjusts the shutter speed. And one thing I can tell that the shutter is probably going to work is because when you turn the shutter speed dial, you can hear the shutter, the spring on the shutter winding for the timer adjustment. And this little outer wheel here is what adjusts for the meter, for the different, so that the meter will give different readings based on the film speed and the shutter speed. But okay, so those are all off. And we should be able to carefully lift off the top housing of the camera. The shutter button is attached to the housing, so we don't have to worry about that. And have to be careful not to catch on anything. Like that. And we just have to be careful because there's two wires here connecting the sync connections for an external flash. Okay. So now the first time I had it apart, this little piece right here, I'm not sure what purpose this serves, whether it's just simply for shielding or what, but that was loose in the camera, and it has one spring over here that's supposed to attach it, and there's another spring, it looks, should be over here attached to it, and the top of the prism cover seems to be the only plastic part in this whole camera, and the little tab's broken off right here where the spring attaches. So I'm not sure if that could possibly be what is jamming it, but we will see shortly. So now we're going to just remove the timer lever here. And I've already peeled back the vinyl covering so we can lift off the front housing. And as you can see, there's just three screws holding the top housing on. And then there is one screw here, two screws down here, and two screws on this side under the leather covering. And you also have to remove the power switch and actuator over here on this side, which I've already removed. Okay, and this simply lifts off. And now here we have the mechanism. And, oops, this is the dial here for the timer knob. Now, if you remember the other Vivitar camera that I had worked on, it had a similar problem. The shutter was jammed on it, and it was apparently a timer issue. The timer was messed up on it, but I can't seem to see what the problem is on this one. It doesn't appear anything's damaged or broken. Oh wait, I think I found our problem. I just found the spring right here. This is the spring that I said that the tab was broken off on the top. The spring's jammed down in the gearing. So, let's see if we can get that out of there without damaging anything. And we'll release the mirror. Oh, and there the timer goes. Let's see if we can... Oh, it's just laying in there. Alright, now let's see if we can wind this up. Let's see if it actually fires the way it's supposed to. Okay. That seems to change the shutter speed on here. See if it'll... I don't know why it seems like the film advance is not... It just keeps letting you advance the film. See if that can... It would help a little bit if I just put the retainer on the advance for now to make this a little bit easier. That's good enough. Now see, that should not keep allowing you to advance it like that. The shutter seems to be working fine now though, but there should be a little stop down here. Oh, it looks like a... Okay, there's a spring. There's a spring that's kind of just... The end of the spring's not attached to anything. If you can see it... I wish this thing would zoom a little faster with the remote. Okay, but when I advance it here... Oh, and now it's not letting me advance it at all. There we go. This spring right here, I don't know if this is supposed to be somewhere, but I don't think it's supposed to be just floating around there. I think maybe it should be like that. Yeah, that seems to be right, because now this piece is actually pushing back. It's actually, this piece wasn't springing back here before. And that is what keeps it. This little notch right here, if we can see on the camera without glare, but this little notch catches right here on the edge of this cam and prevents it from advancing more than one turn. But when the shutter is released, it releases the spring tension on that and then allows the cam to advance. So that looks to be working properly now. And let's just try the timer. We're wound. Advance the timer. Hit the release. zoom out so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, it looks like we've solved the problem. But now the issue is going to be this little spring here that is supposed to be holding. Like I said, I'm not sure what this is for, what the purpose of it is, but I'd rather keep it in there if it was designed to be in there. And this little spring here is supposed to attach right here, and you can see the little tab right here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this little tab, or attempt to anyway. Well, it's a little plastic tab. It's not like we're going to need it anything. I thought I had a pair of pliers here, but I don't seem to have a pair of pliers here. But we'll just remove this. Alright. And there's a little screw right here, right next to where the tab was. So we'll see if we can just remove this screw. And we'll attach the spring under the screw. Like so. All right. And there we go. And we just have to attach the other side. Now, to prevent the same thing from happening on this side, I'm just going to remove this spring and attach it under this screw right here. One of these screws. So I'm going to stop the camera now, and I'll work with that spring, and we'll be right back in a little bit for the reassembly.